So when I was about 7 or 8, my brother and I shared a room and slept in bunk beds. One evening, I had a bedtime of 80-30-ish, so I was in my room with the lights off, a little reading light on because I was doing school reading before bed. I know for a fact that my parents and brother were in the front of the house watching TV, and I was alone in the back where the room was. I was starting to read when I heard what sounded like a scratch at my door. Faint, but still enough to make me curious. So I sat still and listened. Again, a scratch, faint but a little harder this time. So I call out, "John? Dad? Mom?" No answer. Then a few minutes later I heard it again. But this time, it was absolutely my door and someone's nail. It sent chills down my spine. As I sat frozen in my bed, the scratching began to go from slowly drawn out, like 3 or 4 seconds long, sounding like it was going from top to bottom of the doorway. If you could imagine the standard door with 4 indents for design, someone just scratching from the top of the top row to the door handle level. It started out every 5 seconds for a few seconds, then stopped. A few seconds later, it started. Then when I fearfully called out if it was my parents or brother messing with me, I got no answer. But the freakish part was right as I did that, the scratching immediately got quicker, louder, and aggressive. So loud that I don't understand how my family didn't hear it happening. Still, it continued until it suddenly stopped, and then heard the door handle start to rattle, then turn slowly. Now this part is important. I was laying under the reading light when everything popped off, but when the door handle moved and I got scared shitless, I ducked to the side of the bed where my pillows were and covered myself. I remember not hearing much but faintly hearing movement in the room. Suddenly something or someone pulled the covers where my feet were up as to reveal my face hiding where I would have been reading, but it was just my feet. So I screamed bloody murder for my parents, and like 15 seconds later, they got in there, reassured me no one was there but us. The messed up thing is they just thought I was asleep. They tell me that my brother was in the room with them the whole time. They were watching a movie. They had it kind of loud so they wouldn't have heard scratching, or apparently me yelling for them. I slept in my mom's room for a week, I think. They tried every night convincing me it was a bad dream, but I knew I was awake. I knew I heard scratches. I knew I saw the door move. Someone ripped the blanket. Their hand hit my foot when they did it. I don't talk about it with my family anymore because they just brush it off. But of all the paranormal or creepy things I have experienced, it's the only one I can't logically explain at all. When I was in the middle school, my mom began describing to me these strange fits I would have while sleeping at night. She asked me why I was kicking and screaming, and if I had been having nightmares, and I told her I couldn't remember because, well, I really couldn't. We had just moved into a double house and we lived on the lower level. But I would occasionally have dreams of being on the balcony of the upper level, and falling down into the grass in the backyard. The dreams were not necessarily scary, just weird. Eventually, I began to have dreams about getting up and walking around the house, turning on lights, looking in the fridge, etc., and then going back to my bed. One of these dreams entailed standing in front of the television and flipping the channels over and over, never really stopping on one channel to see what was on, then turning the TV off and going back to bed. My mom began questioning me again when she kept finding random lights on in the morning, or the TV remote in the middle of the floor. At one point, she yelled at me for turning on every light in the house, and it sort of clicked for me because I had a dream that I had gotten up and turned on all the lights. I tried to explain it to her, but she just wrote me off as one would do to a middle schooler. While we lived there, none of it really connected for me because I was young and the incidents would happen weeks apart. I did find the occurrences strange, but I found a lot of things strange at the time, and I have always felt that I come to understand things as backwards. It wasn't until I was a little older and my mom brought it up again that I was able to connect the dots. I had forgotten all about those strange dreams because when we moved out of that house, we moved around within the same city a lot because my mom often had issues with landlords. The dreams stopped and I never sleepwalked again. Now that I'm older, I often wonder what the hell was going on. The dreams were so vivid, and the lights being on or things being moved all seemed like clues that I was indeed sleepwalking. But why only that house? And why did I have memories of it as if my eyes were open, but my brain was barely functioning? I think about what I must have looked like in that state. If anybody had ever seen me, I'd have been like a zombie, eyes halfway open, just turning lights on and off and flipping TV channels. The whole thing is still a big mystery to me. When my sister and I were 4 and 5 years old, we swore, even to this day, that there was a witch laughing at us, coming from the living room. My sister and I thought it was coming from the TV. A few years later, we had moved into a different place, and as I went to sneak out of my room for a midnight snack, I heard ticking from the clock getting louder and louder. I stopped dead in my tracks, and this faint song came out of nowhere to the beat of the ticking sound. Mr. Frost is a bad man. Mr. Frost is a Grinch. Mr. Frost is a dead man. Beat him within an inch. I ran back to my room and never went back out for another snack at night again. I mention this moment here around a year or two ago, and back then, I assumed that this was coming from my dad's brown pocket watch. Since then, my family and I discussed the uneasiness we've all felt around this clock, and my sister said, "Do you remember the witch laughing?" It struck me. My dad's watch wasn't around me when we heard it. We don't know why or how, or if it's even real. but we believe that this clock is cursed.